The typical classroom. You guys have all been there. Now, there's a lot of questions going on around this classroom because we're wondering if it's outdated. We're wondering if it adequately prepares students for the future. And if you look at it, you might have some doubts. I mean, the kids look a little bit disengaged. There seems to be a lack of technology, and there seems to be a lack of innovation. Actually, if you really look at it, it looks like everyone's staring at the kid in the middle. I think he got yelled at for texting under the table. But regardless, it's a very standard classroom. Now, I want to go ahead and take you inside the typical teacher training program or continuing education workshop. Up, same slide. You have the same level of disengagement, oftentimes the same lack of technology, and the same lack of innovation. And it's interesting, because if this is how we train teachers, if this is the pedagogy that's inspired, is it any wonder we see the same trends happening in the classroom? Now, I'm a teacher. I've been working with young people for the past 10 years, and regardless of the subjects I've taught or the places I've taught at, there's one disconnect that has continuously bothered me. If we don't provide teachers with the tools and resources needed to innovate, if we don't allow them to be exposed to trends and skills prominent in business, society, and academia, how could we possibly expect those things to get transmitted to our students? And it's not to say that teachers don't try, it's just to say it's a bit hypocritical, don't you think? I once attended this professional development workshop on fostering creativity in the classroom. And I go in, and I sit down, and the guy gets up there and just lectures us for 45 minutes from a really heavy PowerPoint on all the definitions of creativity. And I was a bit surprised, and I finally remember raising my hand and I said, "I'm sorry, but I don't know why you're showing us this. Don't we want kids to be creative instead of just reading about it?" And this didn't fare too well with the facilitator, but I remember leaving and thinking, well, at least I know exactly how I don't want to teach creativity. And the fact is that teaching and trainings, for that matter, they shouldn't be like this. But sometimes teachers are just as powerless as their students in creating change in education. And it's because right now, the components of teaching and learning just don't quite make sense. Let's take the education system as a giant puzzle. We have all the pieces there. You have assessments, curriculum, admin, policy, etc. But they don't quite fit together to make the education system that we want. Right now, we're asking for major transformations in education. If we want to materialize those changes, we need to make sure we use these pieces properly and ensure that they fit together so that what's happening in education is harmonious to the changes we say we want in education. And I'd like to focus on two pieces of this puzzle because I feel they're a little bit more significant. There's teachers and students. And actually, I'm going to focus on teachers. Because if you want to create change in education, you need to entrust in teachers and ensure that they work in an environment where they can actually create change. Every year, there are more fads, more mandated initiatives, and less opportunities for us to adapt teaching and learning to fit the needs of our students. This not only stifles creativity for us, it stifles it for the kids. If we want change in education, we can't just treat teachers as robots who just transmit knowledge. We need to teach them as individuals who are capable of solving challenges within education, which we are. When I was a kid, I used to have to stay after school every day. And no, I wasn't bad, it's just that my mom was a teacher at the same school. And in any case, I used to see her working every day, often from 5 a.m. till 9 at night, designing engaging lessons and projects for her students. Regardless of setbacks, she would do whatever it took to get her students to learn. She was a successful teacher. In fact, she was so successful. When people used to ask me, "So, you're gonna be a teacher like your mom?" I used to say, "No, it's way too much time." But here I am now. And you see, I see teachers like this, teachers like my mom, as intrapreneurs, Because no matter how small the initiative, they're working to create positive learning environments that get kids excited about school and that enable them to excel, which can be really hard to do in an ecosystem that has so many barriers. Now you might be wondering, what is an intrapreneur? And yes, I mean intra with the I. An intrapreneur is someone who acts as a change agent within an organization. They create new ways of doing things, new ways of approaching problems, and in this case, new ways of teaching and learning, and at all different scales, small and large. Now, many teachers already act as intrapreneurs, whether they know it or not, but we should do more to encourage this mindset, because if we want change in education, we should give teachers a voice and enable them to create the type of system where they can have change. And we could do this. I mean, starting from the beginning, during our initial teacher training programs. Teachers should be trained with the problem-solving skills and design mindset they'll need to overcome whatever educational challenge comes their way. And there's going to be a lot throughout our career. We should be encouraged to innovate and to collaborate. Teacher-centered trainings should develop into student-centered classrooms. Then, throughout the course of our career, there's many other things that we can do. We often have to take a certain amount of professional developments or continuing education workshops. These should become opportunities for us to become learners again. We should be able to see what's going on beyond our classroom walls. And then we should not only have the opportunity to learn again, but to take back what we want to our classrooms because we feel that's what's going to work best for our students. Every year, there's a certain amount of workshops or in-services built into the school year for teachers. Instead of the usual lecture, why not use these days to work on problem-solving initiatives so that staff can actually work together to overcome challenges specifically impacting their own students and their own schools? Why don't we provide incubators for teachers? We will never develop new pedagogies, design better learning spaces, or establish partnerships if we're not given a space to do so. Perhaps we can get rid of some unnecessary strain elsewhere and allot time for this. And finally, why don't we provide teachers with mentors and with coaches? It's very hard to overcome challenges or create change if there's no support structure in place. Let's build it. And these solutions wouldn't be hard to implement. It's just a matter of ensuring that the pieces of the puzzle fit together so that we engender an education system that's suitable for change. And I'm focusing on that one piece of the puzzle, teachers, because let's face it, we are the low-cost, high-impact way to change education. I mean, for one, we know the system the best, other than the students, but we live it. It's our job to know. We understand the implications that policy, assessments, and initiatives are going to have on our students. So we should have a voice in these things. We reach a lot of kids. We can ask them what they want from their education, and we can adapt learning to fit a local context. I think I'm being pretty modest with these numbers, but let's take your average high school teacher. Probably has 5 classes a year, 20 kids per class. In 1 year alone, that teacher is going to reach 100 young people. Imagine the impact if that teacher is amazing. Number 3, this is low cost. The structure is already there. It's just a matter of using it efficiently and effectively. And 4, finally, and I think most importantly, teachers care. In fact, that's an understatement. For most of us, teaching is a passion. It's a calling. And even though we might feel our work goes unrecognized or sometimes we don't feel important, we teach anyways. We do it because we want to make a difference. And most importantly, we do it for the kids. You see, we want students to succeed just as much as you do. We work with them every day. We know their strengths and weaknesses. We see their triumphs and their failures. We listen to their stories. We want them to have a good life. When you say you want students that are employable and change makers and have purpose and good character, we want those same things too. School isn't going anywhere, if not for the sole fact that it's a social hub for most of the kids. So why not do more to work with us, to empower us, to ensure that we're working in an environment where we can create needed changes to fulfill modern day demands? When our students graduate, we want them to have the world at their fingertips. We can achieve this. Let us be intrapreneurs. Thank you.